Hello, guys. So, today we'll learn and understand about Artemis Accords. So, June 2023 May, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to US for a 3-day tour and he signed the much needed Artemis Accords for Indo-US collaboration. So, this accord gave boost to both countries in field of space cooperation. It got the much needed stimulus, and that in the aspects of space technologies, right? So India signed the Artemis Accord. During this visit, the major statement made by our prime minister was like, when it comes to Indo-US cooperation, sky is not the limit. So we have to collaborate, converge in space cooperation for a better future. So, what are Artemis Accords? These are the major agendas. What are the commitments, obligations are under Artemis Accord, right? Then, what has been the history of Indo US space cooperation? How will joining the Artemis Accords help India? What are the issues in space cooperation with USA and the way forward? So, let's delve into the Artemis Accord. First of all, what are Artemis Accord? It's a US led initiative to guide civilian space exploration cooperation among the nations for peaceful purpose. Earlier, it was like majorly tilted, inclined towards space militarization. Now, US is also changing its stance and moving towards peaceful purpose cooperation, right? So basically, it seeks to create a rule based global order for space governance in aspects like celestial bodies, their governance, like Moon, Mars in particular, and space in general. So सबसे खास बात है इसकी कि इट्स अ नॉन बाइंडिंग एग्रीमेंट. इसमें कोई फिनेंशियल कमिटमेंट्स नहीं है. सिग्नेटरीज they don't have to commit financially to this agreement, right? So who are the signatories of Artemis Accord? That's a major big question. In October 13, 2020, signed by 8 founder nations like Australia, Canada, Italy, Japan, as you can see in the map, Luxembourg, UAE, UK, US. As of June 27, 2023, there are 27 countries and the maximum are in Europe. So, 10 European countries are part of Artemis Accord: Rwanda, Nigeria, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and now India is the latest signatory. Based on Outer Space Treaty. This accord is based on Outer Space Treaty, which talked about the instruments, the cameras, and all things which are needed for space exploration in 1967. Then, what are the commitments under Artemis Accord? क्या क्या obligations हैं? First of all, it is conducting like space activities for peaceful purpose in accordance with international law. Secondly, sharing the common exploration infrastructure. So इससे आप क्या समझते हैं? Common exploration infrastructure. For example, food storage, then groundwater, then geospatial infrastructure. Say let's say like national space policies, they will be shared openly, freely, transparently. Then sharing of scientific data, जो data research किया गया है, so that will be shared in a very open manner. However, private sector is exempted from this commitment. Like Elon Musk company, if it didn't signed any any agreement, then it is free from this commitment and it can close its data, its research, and can keep it confidential. Then preserve outer space heritage. historic landing sites को preserve करेगा, artifacts को, then it will preserve the celestial bodies. So all the heritage will be preserved. Then orbital debris. So have you heard about the term Kessler syndrome? Kessler syndrome basically talked about all the debris which is created by colliding bodies like asteroids. They collapse on each other and a lot of debris is created in the orbit. So we have to use the space resource in a sustainable and non-interfering manner. Then registration of space objects. Like if any company sign this agreement, and then it has to keep the all the data, all the information with itself and with the signatory countries. So registration is very very crucial of all the space objects. Right now, programs under Artemis mission. In November 2022, NASA launched its spacecraft Orion directly to the moon on a single mission. Like it's a lunar flyby mission. So lunar flyby missions, what is that? It's like वो सिर्फ मून के आसपास घूमकर वापस आ गया था, and it returned to the Earth's orbit in December 2022. ठीक है. So Artemis 2 in 2024, it will commence with a crew of 4 astronauts on board. So how it will be different from Artemis 1? So this is a major point. There we will be commencing NASA's Artemis 2 program with a crew of 4 astronauts performing multiple maneuvers on an expanding orbit. It will also conduct a lunar flyby. Artemis 3, humans will return to the moon in 2025. This mission will witness 4 member crew land on the moon, conduct a week-long lunar exploration, perform a lunar flyby, and return to Earth. And this will be a historical mission because NASA पहली बार एक women को and first person of color they will land on moon. First person of color means racial minority. वो कदम रखेंगे moon पर. So now I have tried to make a very small timeline जिससे आप पूरी हिस्ट्री इजीली रिवाइज कर पाओगे. हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडो यूएस स्पेस कॉपरेशन. This you can include in your notes because this question can be asked in a lot of exams in current affairs. Right. So let's start with 1963. US helped India in launching its first sounding rocket. From where? From Thumba. Thumba is in Thiruvananthapuram. So there's a Thumba Equatorial Research Center. There, the first sounding rocket was launched. 1970, India and US collaborate on satellite instructional television experiment. Then in 1980s, collaboration on INSAT satellite program. In 2000, the pivotal Chandrayaan-1 lunar mission. 2006, Memorandum of Understanding on Space Cooperation. What are the recent Indo-US space cooperation agreements? So in 2020, Indo-US collaborate on NISAR satellite. NISAR satellite was collaboration of NASA and ISRO, right? So in NISAR एक लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट और ऑब्जर्वेटरी है जो जॉइंटली डेवलप की गई है नासा और इसरो के द्वारा. So it will focus on vegetation biomass, sea level rise, all study related to groundwater. So that will be carried by NISAR satellite. Then Project Netra, it's an early warning system, dedicated control center for space situational awareness. In 2023, signing of agreement on critical and emerging technologies. So what do you mean by critical and emerging technologies? ICET. So basically it's in 6 areas of cooperation: defense, innovation, space, telecom, quantum, artificial intelligence, semiconductor, right? So जो भी एक्सपोर्ट restrictions हैं उनको कम करने के लिए इस ट्रीटी को साइन किया गया. and all the talks related to emerging technologies took place in this study. Then April 2023, US India Space Technology Industry Workshop on export controls, all the restrictions. Coming over to the chart, how will it help India? So as like that's a big question, right? सबसे ज़्यादा benefit होगा तो इंडिया की स्पेस इंडस्ट्री को होगा. India is the sixth largest player in the industry internationally, having 3.6% world space tech companies, right? Whereas US accounts for 56.4% of all companies in space tech ecosystem. As you can see in the chart, global space economy present and future. In 2020, it was like $447 billion. In by 2047, we are expecting $1.5 trillion. US accounts for 56.4%. Out of $103 billion, global government expenditure like US spent $62 billion, right? Huge. Indian space industry was valued at $7 billion in 2019. Just a second. So, Indian space industry was valued at $7 billion in 2019 and aspires to grow to $50 billion by 2024. So it will give a boost to India's space program like Chandrayaan 3 and Gaganyaan. India's two pivotal space mission will get a much needed boost. NASA will provide advanced training to ISRO astronauts. So it will be a joint effort because we have the common goal of launching to towards International Space Station in 2024. So training will be provided by NASA. Moreover, ISRO is likely to collaborate on further Artemis mission, including lunar gateway, Mars landing, establishing a permanent lunar base. So it will give boost to India's private sector. India has 368 private space firms compared to China 288, France 269. It has made a name for itself for successful launch of about 342 foreign satellites from over 34 countries. Right? हमारा biggest USP क्या है? Cost effectiveness. बहुत कम खर्चे में कम टाइम में हमें लॉन्च करने में इजी रहता है. Recent initiatives like establishment of InSpace, New Space India Limited, they have liberalized the space industry. As you can see in the chart, just in last 3 years, the number of startups in space sector increased. In 2019, it was 11 startups, whereas in 2021, 47 startups, according to Economic Survey. How will it help India? It will help in import of critical technologies, which we talked about in earlier slide, and it will lead to easing of restrictions, especially restrictions on electronics for space domain. The technology transfer will help Indian companies develop and innovate for both India and US markets. It will lead to common standards for long-term engagement in spaceflight program. So now talking about the issues and concerns. So first of all, mismatch in national interest. While USA committed है moon mission पे, India on other hand is focusing on building the capability in and around Earth orbits. Right? ISRO currently undertakes fewer than 10 launches every year. इंडिया का फोकस टेलीकम्युनिकेशन पर है, remote sensing satellites पर, because it helps in areas like economic development and national security. Then asymmetry in size is another major concern. USA has the highest number of registered satellites and the range of launch vehicles. For example, US का SpaceX alone conducted 61 launches in 2022, which are far higher than number of launch undertaken by any other commercial entity. India, on the other hand, has a total of 60 satellites in orbit, and it cannot undertake double-digit launch annually. Then there are a lot of diplomatic differences with the rising tensions between USA and China. Concerns when like concern in the field of space militarization is there. But India का vision है वासुदेव कुटुंबकम, stands of peaceful use of global common, stands in contradiction to US space militarization. Then there's a new term, eccentric diplomacy. In addition to this, Trump का administration का डिसीजन हुआ था लाइक वे विच डिसमिस द मून एग्रीमेंट. ठीक है, वहां पे ट्रम्प ने मून एग्रीमेंट को डिसमिस कर दिया था और डी रिकॉग्नाइज किया था स्पेस को एज अ ग्लोबल कॉमन, कि स्पेस को ग्लोबल कॉमन नहीं माना जाएगा, एंड विच शोड द राइज ऑफ इसेंट्रिक डिप्लोमेसी. देन व्हाट कैन बी द वे फॉरवर्ड? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, स्ट्रैटेजिक ऑटोनॉमी. लाइक अर्लियर हम रशिया के साथ पहले ज्यादा टिल्टेड थे इन स्पेस पॉलिसी. नाउ वी आर शिफ्टिंग टुवर्ड्स यूएस. सो ये हमारे स्ट्रैटेजिक ऑटोनॉमी के क्रेडेंशियल्स को एनहेंस कर रहा है. देन मैनेजिंग चाइनाज राइज. चाइना इज लाइक वेरी अथॉरिटेटिव in space domain, and it tries to militarize the space domain, acting as a big brother. And but now we will ensure like China's efforts to militarize space are met with diplomacy and deterrence. So thirdly, it's like rule making position. India could emerge as a potential rule maker in space domain. सो कंक्लूजन में आप क्या लिख सकते हैं? पीएम मोदी का स्टेटमेंट है, स्काई इज नॉट द लिमिट. पहले हम एस्ट्रेंज डेमोक्रेसी थे, इसका मतलब हम अलग थे, फ्रिक्शंस थे काफी, लेकिन अब हम एंगेज्ड डेमोक्रेसीज बन रहे हैं, कोलैबोरेट कर रहे हैं, कन्वर्ज कर रहे हैं फॉर द कॉमन गोल्स फॉर इन स्पेस डोमेन स्पेशली. सो इन दिस रिगार्ड स्पेस could fill the vacuum, and it will further strengthen the Indo-US ties, right? So that's it for this topic. We'll continue the next topic in next video. Thank you. If you have any query, you can ask in comment section. That will be addressed as soon as possible. Take care.